This week, Thursday, is going to be Tanas Esther. And there's a minhag by Yidden, the Tanas Esther you give Maxis Ashkel. So I want to delve in a little bit in the minhag, the Makara minhag, the Haluchas for the minhag, although, we all know what to do. But from the Imre Emest from Ger asked once his son, the Beis Yisrael, why don't you say by Mem Adlikin? Friday night, when you say, he said, das heißt, bei ihm sucht man nicht. Ich kann nicht das suchen. Ich will aber, if you do something, you don't say, at least you know why you don't say. So there's a reason. Da verstehen wir, da wissen, let's see what's going on, why, what, where, when. Is the Rambam sucht, we know there's a pasuk in Torah, we learned it 2 weeks ago, Pashish Kolem, Ze yitni kolo iver ala pkudim, macht es a shekel b'shekel ha-kodesh, esem geire a shekel, yachtig macht es a shekel. Is the Rambam brings the beginning of Hilchos Kolim. Now, I want to talk about first macht es a shekel, which is then. Then we're going to come to our minhag now. The Rambam writes in the beginning of Hilchos Kolim, Mitzvah tzasai men ha-toira, it's a mitzvah tzasai men ha-toira, litten kolech mi Yisrael macht es ha-shekel b'chol shono, every year. Afile oni ha-mispanas men ha-tzedukah, even a poor person which doesn't have, he has to beg for his money. Chayev, v'shoyer ala psuchim, he has to go around and collect money for himself in order he should be able to give macht es ha-shekel. He has to sell his begodim in order, Kemivan he should still stay proper dressed, but hakaponim he has to dress any extra things which it is, and he should give macht es ha-shekel, which is tight rushi le-yarbe, v'adal lo yimat. And you cannot give it, a nickel today, tomorrow another nickel, you have to give it the macht es ha-shekel at one time. That's Peirik Aleph, Alucha Aleph. In Alucha Zayin, the Rambam says, Hakle chayuvim lit macht es ha-shekel. Kehanim, Leviam, Yisraelim, Gairem, Vavodim, Shechrurim, every Yid has to give macht es ha-shekel. Aval noi, noshim vavodim. Women and avodim, which have same halacha as women, do not have to give. V'loi ketanim. And children do not have to give macht es ha-shekel. If they give, you can take it. It's not like a goy, which even if you gave, then you should not take. If they give, you take. But not machiv to give. A child, so the Rambam, if your father started giving a macht es ha-shekel, you should continue on giving. If once he gave for his shon, he should still giving on. That's an Hilchos Zayin. Now the reason is why women do not have to give. The Rambam doesn't say atam, but the Bartanura in Masechet Shkolim he writes, because the pasuk says v'nosne ish koifer nafshoy, a person ish, we all know ish v'loy isha, so therefore we know a ish has to give and a isha does not have to give. The Mabit in Kiryas Sefer, he has a perish on the Rambam. The Mabit writes a different reason. Because since it says in the pasuk, Kolo over ala pekudim, now we know women were not counted, only men were counted, from 20 years and older, so therefore it says Kolo over ala pekidim, women are not a heilig of Kolo over ala pekidim, so therefore women and children do not have to give, because they're not a heilig of Kolo over ala pekidim. Now the question begs basically, why do you need to have to a miyat ish, or Kolo over ala pekudim? It's a mitzvah shel zman geruma. So then automatically women will be exempt. Now, so the Mefarshim Zugen, that the reason why we have to have exemption from Posig is because since it says v'nosni ish koifer nafshoy, the reason why we give it because of koifer nafshoy. So koifer nafshoy also women also have to have koifer nafshoy. Like the Gemara says, why are women machif to daven shachar semincha? Because tefillah is chaya. So the Gemara says, only men needs to live. Women do not have to live. Women do not have to live. So therefore, from them leben aros, also wie mir pasken in der Aloche, daatre pasken so in der Aloche, and the Frau is begibt to daven shom nestre, shachar semin has to daven. So that's the Gabe Noshim. When it comes to Ketanim, zug der Rambam like this. Child is not machiev, at she yigdal. Till he becomes Yigdal. What does Mach Yigdal means? He becomes 12 years old. Also he passes to Pshat. A Godel. A Godel Mechif. So the Shittas Rambam is, side the Rambam over here, side the Rambam Peres HaMishnayos, and like all, in some other Rishonim holds, that the child which becomes Bar Mitzvah is Mechif to give Macht es ha-shekel. Again, we are still talking bizman shvais mit shoy kaim. It's still the mechiv to give machzit shekel because achi yigdal. But a lot of other Rishonim hold no. The Chinuch and other Rishonim hold that since it says kol over ala pekudim me ben esrim shunev amalu, only when a person becomes ben esrim, since even though he's a gadol, but since he's not esrim and over pekudim, he does not have to give machzit shekel. What's the bizman azeh? So that's Olam Shich Bizman Shabbos Mikdash Yoyekayim. So what's the Alucha Bizman Azeh? So the Rambam in Alucha Ches, so the Rambam, Ashkulim Einem Nahagim Eile Bifnai Abayis. Only when the Bais Mikdash was, Bizman Bais Mikdash Kayim, hat man genau gegeben, Ashkulim Sayin, et Yisroel, Sayin Chislu. Bizman Shabbos Mikdash is Churav, Afile Beit Yisroel, Ein Nahagim. So the Rambam writes, today's day, there's no such thing as Machzah Shekel, there's no Bais Mikdash, you don't have to give. So what state? Why do we give? Is this not a mitzvah? So I'm sorry. How do we mekayim the Indian of machzah shekel? Is according to the Rambam, the Rishonim which hold it in the Shmechiyev, it's in Shalom Reform Sefer Zayin. That's why Masakin and Chazal and Masakin event we should learn the Torah Parshas Shabbos Kulam before Zucher, before Chodesh Oder, because then was the time when they used to give machzah shekel. Shalom Reform Sefer Zayin, the same as we say Parshas Atomid, Parshas Akaponas. Shalom, all the inyonim is Shalom Reform Sefer Zayin. So when we learn the Torah, that's enough. We don't have to give anything about machzah shekel. But Lamas, we know our meaning is.
So why we like if davening we give in korban? Why not say it and not give machzah shekel? That's
the drama. You only say Krisa Torah, and that's about it. You don't have to give machzah shekel. But the minig lamasa is we give machzah shekel, and it's interesting. The Torah doesn't bring such a minig. The Shechanurich doesn't bring such a minig. You have machzah shekel. It's only the removal which is the first, which says that you should give a machzah shekel b'zman hazeh. Remo is similar to fresh Gdalit. He brings down the Indian of the minig of machzah shekel b'zman hazeh. The Makar Arisha, which we see already that there was such a meaning, an old meaning, is already Masechta Soifra. Masechta Soifra, steht dort nazoi. Be'echet be'oder mashmim al ashkulam. That means be'echet be'oder means shchoidish oder mashmim al ashkulam, that people gotta give shkolam. Why do we have to give shkolam? Zug dem Masechta Soifra, my interesting time. Because since Goli v'yedia lifnai HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Human is going to give 10,000 shkolim, and as Toyfus explains, the 10,000 shkolim is against the shkolim which Eden gave, the same cheshmet, Aseres Alufim, Kikra Kesef, was against the 600,000 chotzi shkolim, Toyfus macht the ganze cheshmet, so therefore, since the Boy Shlem knew the desires of Human, so therefore, at Masaken gewesen, Mamailat is weggestellt, am es machen, geben machzah shekel. Now, Pashas Kemazugi means, this man Shabbos Mikdash Yoyekayim. But since the Masechta Sofrim finishes, it's Richim Kol Yisruai Lusis Shikelaim Lifnai Shabbos Zucher, and it finishes V'oser Loimer Alayim L'Shem Koifer Eile L'Shem Neduvo. As you don't say Shem Koifer, as we're going to see soon, that there's a lot of Rishonim and Goinim which were against this whole minik. But since the Masechta Sofrim writes, you cannot say L'Shem Koifer, that means, it means, B'zman Shabbat, I'm B'zman Mikdash Kayim, because B'zman Shabbat Mikdash Kayim, you can't give Shem Koifer, because it was a Shem Koifer. He says only Shem Tzedukah, so we see the Masechta Soifrim already, has the minig already, that he used to give machzah shekel, la'acher chorban habayis, le'tzedukah. Nish l'shem, kemiv l'shem koifer, l'shem tzedukah.
But for the Haman thing?
The reason is because this is against the Haman thing, yeah. Now, how do we give, what do we give? Doesn't say Masechta Sofrim anything. It says Pashlet that you give machzah shekel. What was the machzah shekel? B'zman Shabbos Mikdash Kayim. You gave $50. We have other minik. We don't give $50. We give 3. Correct? We give 3 $50. So we see already in the Rishonim this nekid 3 $50. Before Azach, the Orzeria brings down from eine von der Rishonim, friedige Rishonim, it's called Rabbi Ephraim Mebina. Today's day there's a Sefer Pirish Rabbi Ephraim Mebina ala Torah. It was printed a couple of years ago. He's eine von der Rishonim which before the Orzeria. So the Orzeria brings him down. And the Orzeria writes, brings down a piyat, was the Rabbi, he wrote a Pirish al Piyitam. You know, we are not into piyat, but in the once in the Alte Welt or in today's day the Sephardic Welt are very into piyat. So he wrote a piyat, and over there it says, betocha piyat, he says, as be'echbud mashmim al ashkolem hilkach Uni, this is what he writes. Uni nahagim ligvois, b'mukim shiashir, in a place where there's a community. Mikol odem choshev abuli, even for a person which comes to the is a guest, so to speak. Mereshchoidish oder, gimel machzi zashekel at Purim. You take from him 3 machzi shekel and you give it till Purim. It's not like we give it out of we're going to see why. But akaponim, gimel machzi zashekel. Shekach kabbalah im mesoyer him al v'sayni shehem noise machzi shekel. So over here we see already that basically in the Rishonim there was such a meaning as you give 3 machzis shekel, and it was the freezing Rishonim. So at least we see in the Rekayach brings such a thing that you give 3 machzis shekel. So we see in the Ashkenazish Rishonim, we see this meaning, or Zari was Ashkenaz, Rekayach was Ashkenaz. We see in the Ashkenazish Mesoira, there was already the meaning that used to give 3 machzis shekel, and from there comes our meaning to give machzis shekel. Why is the reason of 3 machzis shekel? Zuk maram rotmeg again. Also from Ashkenaz, you see the minig is based on Ashkenazish minig. That's why Machaba doesn't bring it, by the way. It's under the move. It's Ashkenazish minig. Zuk the maram rotmeg already, and he says for Mamunug the maram rotmeg, and he says like this: you give 3 machzah shekel. Why? Because it says 3 times in the parsha. It says machzah shekel. In the parsha over there, in parsha machzah shekel says 3 times kapora, 3 times koifa nafshay. Therefore, we give 3 shkolim in the Hagel Hagdim. Do bring this mechtasofrim. Now in the Hagdim, why do you bring it to begin with before Zocher and Piram? In order it should counter attack the shkolim of Huma. So already we see that you give 3. And why you give 3? Because koifa nafshay. Other Rishonim, what?
It's not for kapara. It's for
Emes, but it's also their Inyan. Since it says 3 times koifa nafshay, b'mayla agam b'zanein is mitzeduka. But after we can, so we see 3. As it tells koifa nafshay, the other Rishonim, which is the gus matcha, which the Remu brings down the gus matcha, is you give 3 because 3 times koifa nafshay, because it says in the parsha of Shkulim 3 times machzah shekel. So therefore we have the minig of give 3 times machzah shekel, and from dort nehmt sich in the minig and we get 3 times machzah shekel. Now again, as I mentioned before, not everybody accepts this minig. The Rabamram Guan, Side of the Rabamram Guan, he was even before the Sadi Guan, was one of the first Goinam. He was against this minig. Why? Because he says, if people are going to give it, they're going to give it l'shem koifa, they're going to give it l'shem kabona. It's ma'ile bet hegdish. Once against hegdish, you give it for oni, it's a moil behegdish. It's a problem, and that's his lotion. In ma'ashem achrizim im koimchem. This is what they machrizim, they announce that ala shkolim lo yufhem oisim. It's not good. Shekorim lehem shkulam. People call it shkolam. V'neachri israno. So if it's shkolam, you gave it for the basimigdish. It's also it's like hegdish. In Mamayla is against it. The other poskim which are ba'ad the minig, they say that you shouldn't tackle shkolim. I don't have a problem. You shouldn't say Shem Kapora.
You can divide between Ashkenaz and Sephardim, like the Sephardim against the Ashkenaz.
We're going to finish against Nazoi, but we see that the Ashkenazim was more into it for sure. So the Bamram Goa writes, you say Shem Kapora. The other Rishonim say, and you cannot say Shem Kapora. In the express, you shouldn't say Shem Kapora. But the Rab Amram says, since you call it Shkolim, that's a problem. So we see basically, the Soda Machloikas is, according to Rab Amram, is if it has a name Shkolim, automatically it goes into the category of Shkolim, it becomes Hegdish. It's a problem. The other Rishonim say, no, Shkolim doesn't mean it's the Shkolim, it's the Zaycher Machzah Shekel. You cannot say Shem Kapora. And that's why they say, Taka, you shouldn't say Shem Kapora. And that's why, but the Ashkenazi used to write, and even on the Shul, today's day, you write, Zaycher Machzah Shekel. So Zaycher for the Machzah Shekel means he was. So therefore, it's not a problem. And that's Lamasa in the minig that we give 3 Machzah Shekel, Zaycher Machzah Shekel. Now it's interesting, another thing to know. If you learn Shechanur Lein of even the Gemara, there's such thing as Mos Piram, which basically is a different thing as Machzah Shekel. Mos Piram is one thing, and Machzah Shekel is a different thing. But we're seeing some Rishonim, the Maril, connected it together. The Maril says, and the Maril made 2 things kili. When he gave him 3, again, the Maril is the Avi Ashkenaz. He said you give 3 Machzah Shekel, and the Lushan is like this. Let me start a minute before. Rabbi Nitam had gemacht hat kuna. Rabbi Tam, gemacht hat Kana, that before Purim, we should collect money like we do over here in Beis Moshe. You collect money and to give it, fancy signs, yeah, and to give out for poor people on Purim. That's Atkana for Rabbi Tam. Atkana for Rabbi Tam. The Maram Rotmer brings it down. Atkana in Tzarfas. Mishnechtes oder ad Purim. Kolo oivrim derech hayuris. Even if you walk through in Kingston, anybody who walks through this door down in Mincha al-Marav, you have to show them the sign. Im yesh minyan kavua, yesh chayrem kadmoinim, you have to give more spirim, lachalik la'aniya ha'ir. If you don't ask them, he doesn't have to give, but if you ask them, you demand them, you have to give. Even his kalo oivrim.
Good to know.
So interesting, the Gus Motche writes, in Maashe Neustem Gimel Machzis la Piram, B'Shem Dechsiv, B'Pashas Kisisu Gimel P'Machzis HaShekel, so you see in Agus Motche, he connects it together. He says, Kili, the Machzis HaShekel is Muas Piram. He says, you take Machzis HaShekel, because it says 3 times, Machzis HaShekel, you give 3, and you give it for poor people. If you don't have Piram, you could give the Muas Piram, you could give for whatever you want. So he connects the Chayram of the Banitam and Machzis HaShekel, which is interesting because, as we mentioned, we saw the Indian of Machzis HaShekel inside the Amram. We see it already in Rabbina before the Banitam. But the Gus Motche, he brings it down. Why I stress it? Because the Remu both Zaire stark of the Gus Motche. The Gus Motche is a very powerful source for the Inshas Kenezim. The Remu brings this a lot down. The Maril had 2 things. He said, there's one thing as Machzis HaShekel, you should give 3 Machzis HaShekel. And then there's another thing which you give more Spirim, also 3. So you give 2 times Machzis HaShekel.
Is that was put him, is Matanas Laviyana?
But no.
It's a third thing.
A third thing.
Wow,
then
the
poskim say that more Spirim, you could be Yoitze Machzis HaShekel. If you give it, since you give it in Pirim, you could be Yoitze in. So the Maril said, took both Menugim. Let's say 12 Menugim. And you give 2 times Machzis HaShekel. And it's interesting, there are people, the Mechzaluz used to give Tanas Esther Machzis HaShekel, used to give Purim not time Machzis HaShekel. They took some kind of meaning of the Maril, and which the Gus Motche connects these 2 things. It's one thing, the Maril makes it for 2 things, which is Be'etzim Taka 2 things, and it says you should give to
take out the wallets.
Oh, but the master of the Remu, we're going to give in a minute. It's going to get, how much do you give? New, we give $3 of America. So it's $1.50 a person.
Yeah.
There is we'll see another.
That's what we must touch out. Then he's put him
yeah.
There's more.
So the Remu, the master brings the minik of the Maril, that there are some poskim, the Maril, which says you should give twice, but the Remu, and for the Einhagen it's not a minik. The Remu, even though the Maril was so powerful, but the Ashkenazim and the Remu rechnet sich stark mit the Maril. And so, I'm an Einkeit, that's not the minik. That I could contest that that's not the minik. In Lamas, the Machzis HaShekel doesn't give to Machzis HaShekel. When do we give it? Okay, when do we give it? Now we look in Sechtes Afram. It says Mereshchoy Deshuder. From Mereshchoy Deshuder every day. You can start giving it today. You can give it tomorrow. Machzis HaShekel. Whenever you have put out a box, put Zeichel Machzis HaShekel. You can give it. For Mereshchoy Deshuder. You see a lot of Rishonim brings him Mereshchoy Deshuder, invited, and and that's the B'fraim Emerin. One of the stark sources which I mentioned, Arzli brings the B'fraim Emerin, he says that Mishnech Deshuder had the Piram. But Lamasse, in the andere Rishonim, in the Markim, in andere Rishonim writes already, it's a minig to give Dafki Tanas Esther. Why Tanas Esther? Because since it's also a Tainus, and since a Tainus, there is a minig which the Rebbe used to koch every Tainus, agre the Tanas, as you should give tzeduk in a tanas dafka. So therefore we give it tanas Esther, in as if it's in the Maram Rottenberg, ibe minche, as I mentioned before, the Loschen, ibe minche, kishalchen by sekneses, noistem gima Machzis HaShekel. So the minig is tanas Esther, you give it tanas Esther, Machzis HaShekel, and that's, as we say, the Remu hochat, as we schnitten, belayl pirem, koimshem spallen minche, that's tanas Esther, the minig is, even though in the Rishonim we see it goes from a rare from other, we do it only from Tanas Esther. If it falls, like this year, Purim falls, Shabbat, Zintik, Sunday, is steht in Agus van Meise, steht that you should give it on Tanas Esther, and this minig, Seifer minig Chabad, and the Rebbe schreibt in the Sefer Amrog, we should give it, as we give it, and we're
going to give it Thursday.
We're going to give it Thursday, by Mincha we're going to give it. There are some menugam which stayed with the minig, since we don't have it, it's not So we give it Purim in the morning, and again, there's a given asach menhugim was a mazugetin, but again, Lamas in the minhag given that we give Tanas Esther. Again, Mechzeluzer used to give 2 times Tanas Esther, and used to give Purim Day, and there's a given noch of some galt azoi. Again, okay. So now, who has to give? Again, over there, Rambam Samachlokes Rishonim. According to the Rambam, according to the Chinuch, according to other Rishonim, it's Ben Esther Rishonim V'mal. So basically, you don't have to give for your bacha, which is 15 years old. But according to the Rambam, as I mentioned, Achi Yigdal, once he becomes 13 is Mechiev, and the Ramban ala Torah Zuklur also that he becomes 13 years old, is B'maila from person is 13 years old, he has to give.
What about kids, little kids?
We're going to get to this. So we have a Machlokes Rishonim from 13 to 20, and do us. You're not going to say, believe me, you're not going to say. What's doing about small kids? What's the sort of minik? So we see already in the end Rishonim, Rabbi Isaac Mitirna, he was später the Rishonim, the end from the Rishonim. He writes, "V'noistim kol echet gimel machzis matbaya viner, whatever. Afile yilodim lemos purim. Afile yilodim. He also calls him mos purim. It's interesting. He also calls him mos purim. And kim da agus motcha, and the Gemus motcha says not only yilodim, also a muberes will give 3 machzah shekel. Also me'beres. Why? Why me'beres? Because it says kalo over ala pkidim. So you can read it kalo uber. Kalo uber. So since it's a uber, so you also for a uber.
What do you have to give 2? Because maybe there's 2 umim.
Oh, let give him it. Maybe it's the mimim. Okay, so if you have a sufik, maybe it's the mimim, but it's a megai bus a But if you have a sonogram, then you should give twice. 2 umim, yeah. Is the Darke Moshe brings it down. That the Darke Moshe in the Remu, it is like chickens, exactly like chickens. In the Remu it doesn't bring this minik, but the Darke Moshe brings down from Marim and Bruna that you give also for a muberes, because the shtayt kalo over, it means kalo iber. In as we shtayt sidr emnen, isrur kedoshim, bachmiri alatzmam gam baad ech mebunim, amagat according to the mind. Jetzt azoi, la maasa, the Remu doesn't bring this kalo uber. Doesn't bring it over. In the Seifa Manugam Chabad, in the Rebbe, was at Wegeshelde Manugam, steigt nicht schon mal geben for a Iber. So not like, with the Alter Rebbe writes, Bakaporas, you should give also for when you're pregnant, but Lamaase, the minig is nicht gewähnt, to geben for a Iber, also steigt nicht in the Seifa Manugam, you luden ketanim, aber nicht for a Iber, so you save, in this way, you save, yeah. Now, why do we give over? Pashtus, we were going to say because, is a Sophic, maybe it's a boy. Because again, according to some Rishonim, Noshims and the B'chanish B'chir. So if you know you have a girl, so you don't have to give. But Lamas, as I mentioned, the minig is, and as I state in Sefer Manugim, and as the minig Baklal Yisrael, that you give for your wife, you give for all your children. Therefore, there is no loopholes. You give for all your children, machzah shekel, for your wife, you give b'shich to your wife, for all your children, al kaponam, which are born already. Was er nicht geboren, also wie lost bekommen a discount Schleimer.
It's not me.
I know, I'm just giving the locha. Yeah, also is the minig as lama. And those in also minig lamasa, I'm going to give for all the nushim with Yeludam. Again, Sefer Manugam.
How much?
In why? Oh, yeah. How much do you give? How much do you give? So as I mentioned before, according to a bunch of Rishonim, you give 3 machzah shekel. What is machzah shekel? Steigt in the Rishonim, the Remu brings it down, and do as passed in the Remu. That you give 3 machzah shekel a matbaya, which is the shekel which is in your town. In the United States, it's $1. 3 half a dollar. In Eretz Yisrael is a shekel. Whatever a shekel is, a half of that. In Russia, it's a ruble. You give a half of ruble. 3 half a ruble. That's the minik which is shtayt in the Rishonim. The Remu brings down such a thing. So the shtagaya, how much it weighs, how much silver is. It doesn't have to be but silver at all. You give 3 matbayas, which is half of this, and this more or less the minik which we have over here in those. But the Maril sucht nicht azoi. So we have the Maril sucht nicht azoi. The Maril zuk that you have to take a matbaya. How much is a machta shekel, which was basically bezman habayis? Bezman habayis, how much was it? And bezman habayis had to be silver. So you have to take a shekel and divide it in half. How much is the half of a shekel? Silver in the half of a shekel. This you have to give. For instance, 5 shlum, which you make a pidyon rabban, we all know, has to be 5 silver dollars. Now, it doesn't have to be silver coins. It could give a becher, but the concept should be how much the worth of silver, pure silver, is in a shekel. This you have to give. So how much do we give pidyon rabban? Machloek is how much is 5 shkolim. If it's 94 grams of silver, some say 96. The Alter Rebbe is one of the biggest machmirim. It's 101. Some machloek is B'chaim Noah in
how much money?
And what's the other one? We're going to give it in a second. What's the other? 9. The B'chaim Noah mit Alabavich, Rav Zevin. Rav Zevin, what's a drama? It's the guy. You have to give the maximum sheet. You have to give 101 grams silver. How much is it in our times? Today's day, there's American Eagle, which this is from 1986. The American Eagle silver dollar has 1 ounce pure silver, which our ounce pure silver is not 28 grams, as we know. A gram, 28 grams is a ounce. In silver, it goes 3 ounces, so therefore it's 31 ounces. So when you give 4 coins, 4 matbayas from American coin, which this is usually what people give, that is 4 pieces is enough. 4 pieces is enough, and people give 5 because it has to be 5, but it's a toast, the mach has a chashin gishrim of them. 4 pieces is enough. How much is a piece? It fluctuates. It's usually be'erech around 25, depends how the silver is, $25, $30 a piece. So if you have to give half of it, so it's be'erech $15, half a matbaya. Depends how much you have to 15. 3 times 15 is about $45. You have to give a machzah shekel for every child that ever it is. Okay. So that is according to the Maril and some other person which say that you should go according to this. But Lamasa, the meaning is nicht, the meaning is not to give silver ones. We give regular $50 if the Ramu brings down, we bring only $50, and that should be enough. So how much is it in Mashir Bavadia says machzah shekel is 9 grams of silver, clean silver. So how much clean silver is? Look, every day you can see how much it is silver. 9 grams of silver is a machzah shekel. If anybody wants to give this minig, the Kafachayim is a Svardisher. He says, Mishi Yude Masegas, and a person is wealthy and he can do it, then he should give machzah shekel b'shleimas silver. And there are people today's day which give b'shleimas machzah shekel. Now I myself personally bought years ago 3 silver coins, and I have written that last week. I had a note, a list which I have to bring from Monty to Kingston. One of the things was, to bring the 3 silver coins, but Lamasa or the Reibish to Megamacht, as I forgot it in Monty, silver ones. Okay, so hab ich gedacht, das kennt der Reibisch der gewollt. Ich schreibe zanisch ka chucham, aber der Menig ist nicht, don't be chucham.
He has right here, he has in the Mendel Hirschkopf has.
Yeah. Silver ones? Yeah. Silver ones? Silver? Oh, fine. Well,
hiding in the thing the whole year.
What? This is silver? This is not silver. Yeah. That's not silver. That's machzah shekel, but that's not silver.
If you drop them,
it's not silver.
That is, you can see
it's not silver.
When the side is fully silver, that means that it's
silver.
silver.
But it's not fully silver.
It's not.
It's not fully silver. Maybe the, let me see. I can see on these are silver. These are silver. So as I start Kafachayim is a listin. So therefore,
but if you do that, you have to pay like $15 each.
But andere, that I put it in, that no, you don't have to pay, but at least nits this golden.
Okay.
Hast du recht, muss ich kaufen for cheaper. I could sell it to you for cheaper.
$1.50.
$1.50. Yeah. And now I want to finish with one thing, which is a very important thing. Wie geht the Geld? Is bepashtes, is mashma.
How much is moist pudding? And
Moshes Purim is you give how much is want. Matunas Yonim, we're going to talk in Eitz Hashem. Tomorrow night, we're going to be a Shikluli on Hilchis Purim, Bechlal. We're going to talk about Mishlech Munas, Matunas Yonim, see the Spirim, Kisa Megillah, all that.
Where's the money go?
That's going to be Monday, the Monday Shir. But where does the money go? Lamas is a Sach question say to a Niyam. Lamas is a weggestellt, also Chabad in another other place. It goes to a Shul. Sie geht for also wie bei Samigdash ist es gegangen, wir bald the shul them tibet bei Samigdash, so therefore is it going so. Now the $1 million question people ask every year is, could I give it from Master money? That's a question which everybody asks every year. Not everybody, but a lot of people ask every year. If you could give. Now we know the klal is in Mus Maser, which one day hopefully we'll give a shir and Bechala Mus Maser. is anything which you are machiyef to give, you cannot give from Mos Maser. So now let's see what we spoke now. Can you give, lechoyre wat ich gewollt suchen, as the ganze Sache is a minik, it's not a chiyef, voraya, the Arashon which against it. So since the Arashon which against it, so what ich gesagt, kein sein, wat man gekannt hat, sie geben, Mos Maser auch des geben, was nicht a choyf zu geben. And ich hab gesagt, mit Zadel gehen für so einen Fall, but Lamais I saw, the Shluah Kudosh brings down the Resh, im Sechs Megillah, Resh Ner Mitzvah, he brings down Klor, and he writes, you should not, the Bar Haiti brings it down, and it says, clear the Ein, Litten, Machzah Shekel, Mus Maser. You shouldn't give Machzah Shekel, Mus Maser. So therefore, you cannot give Mus Maser. I debate, ich will nicht Spaß können do, I debate, at least a person which is be'emes ha'urman, as fanoshim in Yelodim, could be, we can make an example, because over here, we have a bunch of Shoinim, which basically said that noshim not mechiyef, yeah? We have a bunch of, as I mentioned before, noshim not mechiyef. Skim to you, yeah, in a fil noshim, let's say your wife, you should give, because of kasov, andere Shoinim halt, but a kapunim for Yelodim, is the a kapunim rav Shoinim, or the ribe kekila halten beitsem, as me sagt nicht geben.
Only from 13 or
Only from 13. It's lassen für 13, sommer Rambam halt von 13. Aber laut der 13, ist er sicher nicht du kein Chiyuv. And even the remove paskens you give only from 20. The remove paskens like the poskim which give only from 20. So although we want to be machman as the Rambam, we give from 13, but less than 13, libi oimeli, also feel ich, as a kapul nochmal, as eine kann es afford $1.50, you know, it's $1.50, you know, okay. But the person taki is mama she do yesh mukim lehukl to give from Mos Maser at least till 13 years old, and befrat nach girls kitane mit chavada. So that's the yesh mukim lehukl. In the Rav Shelfen, as in some Zoyches, that I can give this year the Machzah Shekel, the real Machzah Shekel, the game for Karbonas and Beis HaMikdash, the Kur of Mamash, Mahayim, Mahayim, Mahayim.
Amen. Shkoyach.